What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Merab has decided to stay in the bantamweight division for at least 3 to 4 more fights before making the move up to featherweight. After his dominant win over Corey Sandhagen, many fans and analysts started speculating about a potential move to 145, especially given Merab's relentless pace and size for the division. However, the machine has made it clear he's not done at bantamweight just yet. Following his impressive victory, Merab wasted no time and agreed to face Peter Yan in December, showing once again that he's willing to fight anyone the UFC puts in front of him. Still, the conversation about a future move up in weight hasn't gone away. Even Bisping publicly expressed interest in seeing a super fight between Merab and Alexander Volkanovski, saying it would be an incredible matchup between two cardio machines. Recently, Merab's coach John Wood sat down with MMA Fighting and shared some insight into his fighters' plans. According to Wood, fans shouldn't expect Merab to move up immediately. He explained that while making weight at 135 is getting tougher for Merab, he's still capable of performing at a high level in the division for a few more fights. Wood said, "Making weight sucks, and Merab definitely isn't a fan of it. That's probably the hardest part of the process. But even if he goes up to 145, he'll still have to deal with weight management. I think we've got an easy 3 to 4 more fights at bantamweight before that move needs to happen. Once those fights are done, then we can start talking about going up. For now, Merab remains focused on continuing his dominance at 135 pounds, with his eyes set firmly on the top contenders before eventually making the leap to featherweight. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel." Moving on to another news, Max Holloway has officially shut down any chance of him fighting in BKFC after his UFC career is over. During his recent live stream on Kick, a fan asked Max if he'd ever consider stepping into bare-knuckle boxing once he retires from the UFC. Max didn't hold back with his answer. He said he'd never fight in bare-knuckle and called it the most stupidest thing in the world. This caught many fans off guard since Max is known for his incredible striking, toughness, and his signature move of throwing down in the final seconds of his fights. You'd think bare-knuckle would fit right into his skill set, but Max made it clear that's not something he's ever doing. In his own words, Max said, "I ain't never going to do bare-knuckle fight. That's the most stupidest thing ever in the world. When I'm retired, bro. Maybe I'll do a boxing match, but not a bare-knuckle one. That's ridiculous." He went on to laugh about the idea, saying that people who compete in bare-knuckle or power slap are next-level crazy. He said, "People who do slap or bare-knuckle, bro, you guys are actually crazy. Like, the slap one is so nuts. Why would I just stand there and let someone slap me? That's crazy, bro." Despite his comments, some fans believe that BKFC could still throw a massive offer his way. The promotion has a history of paying big money to get former UFC fighters into their ring, and Max's star power would make him one of the biggest signings ever if he were to join. Still, Max doesn't seem tempted at all by the money. He made it clear that when he retires, he's done with MMA wars and wants to enjoy life outside the cage. While he did mention the idea of maybe doing a boxing match or two, it sounds like he's focused on leaving the fight game on his own terms. Whether it's about health, legacy, or simply walking away at the right time, Max seems at peace with the decision. For now, fans can expect him to keep lighting up the octagon, but once his UFC run ends, don't expect to see him throwing hands in bare knuckle, ever. Moving on to another news, Mario Bautista is ready to make a statement in his upcoming fight against Umar at UFC 321. The fight is set to take place this Saturday, with the main card kicking off at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, since the event is happening in Abu Dhabi. During the first episode of UFC Embedded, Bautista opened up about his mindset going into the bout and made it clear that he's looking for a big finish. He said he plans to go out there and try to finish Umar in the very first round. According to Bautista, that would be the perfect scenario. Get the job done early, take home some solid money, and enjoy a well-deserved meal afterward. Confident as ever, he ended his message with, "Umar, I'll see you over there, brother." However, not everyone in the MMA community seems to share his confidence. Some fans online mocked his comments, saying Bautista and finish don't belong in the same sentence. They pointed out that it's been a while since he stopped an opponent and doubted that he could pull it off against someone like Umar. One fan joked that Bautista talking about finishing a Nurmagomedov in the first round sounded more like a fantasy than a prediction. Another commented sarcastically that Bautista's idea of finishing is more about clinching and hugging by the end of the fight, rather than putting someone away. Still, Bautista isn't letting the criticism get to him. He's focused, motivated, and believes that this fight is his chance to show the world that he belongs among the elite at bantamweight. Meanwhile, fans also know that Umar is not the kind of fighter to underestimate. Known for his elite grappling, sharp striking, and relentless pace, Umar is coming in to maintain his undefeated streak and prove that the Nurmagomedov name still dominates the sport. With both men motivated and confident, UFC 321 is shaping up to be an intense clash of styles. Bautista looking to make a statement and Umar looking to shut it down. Moving on to another news, Alex Pereira's injury has finally been revealed by Mauricio Ruffi. After Alex's first fight with Magomed Ankalaev, many fans were convinced that he had gone into the bout dealing with an illness or an injury. At the time, time, nothing was confirmed, but the speculation never stopped. Fans noticed that Alex's movement seemed slightly off, and some believed it had something to do with his legs. It turns out they were right. In a recent interview with Ifiana, Mauricio Ruffy revealed that Alex actually entered that first fight with a cracked shin and could barely walk leading up to it. Ruffy said, "Now that everything's over, I can say it." He was fighting with a cracked shin in the first fight. His leg was so damaged he could barely move properly. He still went out there, fought through the pain, and gave everything he had. Even though he lost, he showed incredible toughness. Then in the rematch, he came back completely healthy and showed his true level. What makes this even more surprising is that despite the injury, Alex threw an incredible number of leg kicks in that first fight. Statistically, he landed 48 out of 55 attempted leg kicks, which made up the majority of his total strikes. Out of 78 significant strikes, 48 were leg kicks. Because of that, many fans assumed any injury he had must have been upper body related, as it seemed impossible for someone with a cracked shin to throw so many kicks. However, the recent revelation explains a lot. Not only was Alex dealing with a cracked shin, but he also confirmed later that he was battling an illness at the same time. He admitted that going into that first fight, he was operating at only about 40% of his full capacity. Despite that, he still managed to go the distance with one of the toughest light heavyweights in the division. We all remember how the rematch played out. Alex came in looking like a completely different fighter, aggressive, composed, and ready to fire from the opening bell. His movement was sharper, his kicks had full power, and he was in complete control. That dominant performance made it clear that his shin had fully healed, and that the injury from the first fight had been a major factor in his earlier struggles. It's another reminder of how much these fighters endure behind the scenes, often stepping into the cage far from 100%, yet still managing to perform at an elite level. Moving on to another news, Chito Vera has finally broken his silence on his recent UFC Vancouver loss. After suffering a tough split decision defeat to Aman Zahabi this past weekend, Chito opened up about his emotions and what happened right after the fight. According to him, he was furious as soon as the fight ended. He revealed that he left the arena just 90 seconds after stepping out of the octagon, still wearing his UFC fight gear, with no shirt or shoes on. He immediately demanded an X-ray on his finger from the UFC doctors before heading straight back to his hotel room. Chito admitted that he was angry and disappointed at first, but once he rewatched the fight, his perspective started to shift. He realized that Zahabi performed better than he initially thought, even though he still believes he did enough to win. Chito said that while he didn't get the official victory from the judges, the way he feels mentally and spiritually makes it seem like a win. He explained that he's trying to stay positive and use this experience as motivation moving forward. "Watching it yesterday, it was better than I thought," Chito said. "Maybe I don't have the momentum on the outside and the financial side, more sponsors, more opportunities, because that's what a win brings. But mentally and spiritually, the momentum feels like a win. So it's positive going forward." After Zahabi's victory, he wasted no time calling out Sean O'Malley, hoping to secure a big fight next. However, Chito doesn't believe that matchup will happen. He thinks Sean will be more interested in fighting someone ranked higher, like Corey Sandhagen, which makes more sense for his career right now. Chito shared his thoughts, saying, "I mean, Sean definitely hits harder. I don't know if Zahabi will wrestle him or clinch. He doesn't really do much of that. Yeah, it would probably be a good fight, but I don't think it will happen. I think Sean might want someone higher in the rankings, like Corey Sandhagen. That's the perfect time to do it. Two tall guys fighting for who's the tallest. It would actually be a fun fight and a much bigger one than Zahabi, but you never know with the UFC. If you get the chance, you take it." Even though the loss stung, Chito seems to be handling it with maturity and optimism, focusing on what's next rather than what went wrong. Moving on to another news, Derek Moneyberg is still planning on suing Sean Strickland. For those who've been following the story, this all began when Strickland publicly confronted Moneyberg, accusing him of scamming fighters and being a fake black belt. The situation quickly escalated online, and now Moneyberg says he's taking legal action. During his recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, he opened up about the ongoing dispute and made it clear he intends to move forward with a lawsuit against the former UFC middleweight champion. Moneyberg explained that he's been nothing but respectful towards Strickland, but feels that Sean has gone too far with his comments. According to him, Strickland made several nasty and false claims about his character and business, crossing the line from opinion to outright defamation. He said, "He can have whatever opinion he wants about my black belt. He's a world champion fighter and an expert in his field. But when he starts saying false things about my business or about me personally, that's when it becomes malicious." Moneyberg stressed that these comments have damaged his reputation and hurt his brand, which is why he feels forced to take legal action. When Helwani asked if the lawsuit was official, Moneyberg confirmed it, saying, "Yes, I'm suing him for defamation. I'll let my attorneys handle it, but it looks like I'll have to sue him." He added that the situation has become serious and that there's already a pending legal case. At one point, he even slipped up and said Strickland made a lot of very nasty things that are true that are false, which caused some laughter online. But the tension between the two is no joke. Helwani then asked whether a potential grappling or sparring match between them could help settle things. rings, but Moneyberg said those are two separate matters. He explained that the lawsuit would have to be resolved first before any kind of match could happen. "I think that would make sense," he said, adding that he was actually open to the idea of competing against Strickland if the legal issues were cleared up. Moneyberg mentioned that he had previously asked Strickland face-to-face if he'd like to do the match, but instead of agreeing, Sean allegedly continued spreading false claims and creating new lies. Moneyberg said he respects Strickland as a fighter and even has good relationships with many people around him, so he doesn't understand why things escalated to this point. Still, he believes it's gone too far to simply ignore. For those wondering about the fake black belt remarks, that's where the original conflict started. Strickland claimed that Moneyberg didn't earn his jiu-jitsu black belt legitimately, pointing out that he had never competed in major tournaments like the Mundials or ADCC. Moneyberg responded by saying, "I don't think ever in the history of jiu-jitsu someone has received a black belt without any competition on their record." He noted that legends like BJ, Penn and Khamzat earned their belts after major accomplishments. BJ after winning the Mundials and Khamzat after winning the UFC title. Moneyberg defended himself, saying he trained with UFC champions for 2 years and earned his black belt through intense behind-the-scenes work. Critics, however, still question how someone in their mid-40s could achieve the rank in just 3.5 years. Despite the skepticism, Moneyberg stands by his credentials and insists the issue isn't about the belt. It's about protecting his name and reputation. Moving on to another news, Dana White has weighed in on the recent flare-up between Khamzat and Peter Yan. The whole saga began after Peter made a comment saying he doesn't see Khamzat as a real Russian. That statement quickly went viral, and Khamzat fired back, mocking Yan's last name and calling it Chinese-sounding. Things reportedly escalated when the two crossed paths in person. According to Peter's manager, Syed Abdurrahmanov, the conversation between them got heated and, in his words, crossed the line. However, he added that their next meeting will likely just end with a handshake to settle things down peacefully. This kind of tension is never good news for Dana and the UFC, especially with Khamzat holding the middleweight title and Peter preparing for a massive bantamweight title eliminator in just 2 months. Dana admitted he was frustrated to hear about the altercation, but said he wasn't entirely surprised. As he pointed out, Khamzat has always been unpredictable and has found himself in the middle of multiple conflicts throughout his career. From backstage confrontations to fiery exchanges online, Khamzat's intensity has often spilled outside the octagon, and this situation with Peter is just the latest example. What makes it even more surprising is that Peter and Khamzat actually have a bit of history together. They've trained side by side in the past, and were known to have a friendly relationship built on mutual respect. So to see things explode like this caught many fans off guard. Peter is currently set to face Merab once again on December 6th in a rematch that not many fans were calling for. Their first fight was completely one-sided, with Merab dominating from start to finish, showcasing his relentless pace and wrestling pressure. Still, Merab has gone on to defeat nearly every top bantamweight on the roster, leaving the UFC with very few other matchmaking options. As for Dana, when he was asked to comment on the situation, he gave a typically blunt response. He said he didn't know if anyone could have predicted what happened, and that you simply never know what to expect from someone like Khamzat. "It is what it is," Dana said. "We're in the fight business, gentlemen. These are the things that happen." He explained that while moments like this can be frustrating from a promoter's standpoint, they're also part of the chaos that comes with managing fighters who are as emotional and competitive as Khamzat and Peter. Dana went on to say that incidents like these remind everyone that fighting is not just a sport. It's personal, it's raw, and it brings out intense emotions. He made it clear he doesn't condone such outbursts, but he understands that tempers sometimes flare when you're dealing with world-class fighters at the top of their divisions. For now, the UFC is hoping both men can move past the incident, focus on their fights, and let their skills do the talking inside the octagon. Moving on to another news, Israel Adesanya has found himself in the middle of major backlash after posting a controversial video on his Instagram story. Late last night, Izzy uploaded a clip where he tried to make a joke about political commentator Charlie Kirk, but instead, the video backfired and sparked outrage online. In the clip, Israel can be seen pouring himself a shot of alcohol while saying, "Want to hear a black joke?" He then holds up the glass and says he calls it the Kirk shot because the glass has a bullet encased in it. He goes on to laugh and add, "You know why? Because it's black." He pauses for a moment trying to find humor in it and continues saying, "There's something there, just figure it out. There's a joke in there somewhere. You can do it. Figure it out. Flay, Chappelle, Oprah, figure it out." The meaning behind the video wasn't exactly clear, and fans quickly began questioning what point he was trying to make. Many people didn't understand how the so-called Kirk shot connected to it being a black joke, and the confusion quickly turned into backlash. MMA fans across social media started calling out Adesanya for what they saw as a failed attempt at humor and an unnecessary jab that crossed the line. online. One user wrote that this was the same Izzy who stayed up until 1 in the morning arguing with fans online before his fight with Strickland, calling him a disgusting individual. Another fan said, "I've been a huge fan of Izzy since his debut, but this isn't something that should be ignored. What if Charlie Kirk's family saw this? Too soon, Izzy. Too soon." Others criticized him for being cringier with age, while some suggested that the CTE from his recent fight with Chimaev was starting to show. Comments poured in saying that if he keeps this up, he might even face visa issues when fighting in the US. A few went further, saying, "If you're going to be edgy at 40 years old, at least make a better joke," and mocked him for potentially ending up drunk at a bar one day watching Alex fight, claiming he once beat him. However, not everyone was against Adesanya. A small portion of fans defended him, saying it was just dark humor and people were overreacting, but the majority felt the video was tone-deaf and uncalled for. Whether it was a joke gone wrong or simply poor timing, Israel's attempt at humor clearly didn't land the way he expected, and now he's dealing with serious backlash across the MMA community. Moving on to another news, we're just 4 days away from one of the biggest fights of 2025, the heavyweight title showdown between Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane. Predictions for this clash are split right down the middle. Some fans and analysts believe Gane's slick technical striking gives him a real chance, even though his recent win over Volkov didn't exactly blow people away. Volkov pressed him hard, showed different looks, and made it a completely different fight compared to their first encounter. Many fans even argued that Volkov actually won that fight on their scorecards. On the other hand, many pundits think Aspinall is simply levels above the Frenchman. According to them, there's no one in the heavyweight division right now who can truly touch him. That's exactly what former UFC champion Dominic Cruz discussed during his recent appearance on John and Nick's podcast. Cruz broke down why he believes Aspinall's fight IQ, composure, and complete skill set separate him from everyone else in the division. He emphasized that Gane's wrestling remains a major weakness, one that Aspinall will no doubt be eager to exploit once they step inside the octagon. Cruz was then asked a very interesting question. If you had to send one current UFC heavyweight into the cage to beat Tom Aspinall, to literally save someone's life, who would it be? Without hesitation, Cruz replied, "Only John Jones." He added that even then, he wasn't sure Jones would actually be able to do it. That in itself says a lot about how highly Cruz rates Aspinall's abilities. He went on to say it's amazing to think that there's nobody else who can threaten Aspinall, and at the same time, nobody who can truly threaten John Jones. Cruz claimed that this dynamic is exactly why Jones never took the fight with Aspinall. In his view, it's a small blemish on Jones's otherwise legendary career. He suggested that Jones's ego might not have been able to handle the idea of facing someone as dangerous as Aspinall. Still, Cruz said he would love to see Jones step up, beat Aspinall, and then retire on top as the greatest ever. That, he said, would be an incredible way to close out a historic career. However, Cruz admitted that in his opinion, Aspinall would probably win that fight. He explained that if Jones somehow managed to beat Aspinall, using his legendary fight IQ, his ability to manage distance, and his excellent use of the deep kick, it would be an all-time great performance. But Cruz doesn't believe that would happen. He said Aspinall's size, strength, and natural athleticism at heavyweight make him a completely authentic and dominant force. According to Cruz, that would be the first time John Jones would ever truly feel the power and physicality of a genuine heavyweight, and that alone would be a huge factor in the fight. That's it from MMA Clash Daily. Thanks for watching.